3 men waded into radioactive water beneath Chernobyl's destroyed reactor to stop another explosion that was set to make Europe uninhabitable. According to the story, they knew they were going to die, but almost everything you've heard about Chernobyl is wrong. But first, the facts. Chernobyl was the worst nuclear disaster in history. On April 26, 1986, at the Chernobyl nuclear power plant near the city of Pripyat in Ukraine, then part of the Soviet Union, an overnight safety test went terribly wrong. A sudden power surge and rapid steam buildup triggered 2 explosions that tore Reactor 4 apart. 31 people died in the immediate aftermath, many of them firefighters and emergency cleanup workers who absorbed lethal doses of radiation. Thousands more are believed to have died in the decades since due to radiation exposure.
Внимание, внимание.
Attention, attention.
Внимание, внимание.
Attention, attention.
Складывается
Adverse radiation levels have evolved.
обстановка. Возникает
It is necessary to temporarily evacuate city residents.
эвакуацию жителей города.
In the days that followed, a terrifying new fear emerged. The explosions had destroyed the reactor's cooling systems, and firefighters pumped additional water into the building to battle the blaze. The unintended consequence was that if the white-hot molten core melted through the floor and hit that water, it could trigger a massive explosion. Some Soviet scientists warned that such an explosion could destroy Europe.
Our experts studied the possibility and concluded that the explosion would have had a force of 3 to 5 megatons. Minsk, which is 320 kilometers from Chernobyl, would have been razed and Europe rendered uninhabitable.
That claim would become legendary, but it was wildly exaggerated. Chernobyl was not about to detonate with the force of a nuclear weapon. Lava hitting water does not produce continent-destroying explosions. A nuclear power plant cannot explode like a nuclear weapon. The physics are completely different. If that molten material had reached the water below, the most likely outcome would have been a steam explosion capable of spreading more radioactive debris. At worst, it would have made an already catastrophic cleanup far more difficult and far more dangerous, but it would not have destroyed a continent. The priority was to drain the trapped water. That meant sending a crew to wade through the flooded chambers and manually twist open the 2 small drainage valves to allow the water to drain out. But who had the guts to do such a task? The HBO miniseries on Chernobyl portrayed it as a suicide mission, with officials demanding volunteers.
You'll do it because it must be done. You'll do it because nobody else can. And if you don't, millions will die.
That line makes for great TV, but as we've just established, it is greatly exaggerated. The series describes how 3 brave engineers volunteered for the task.
Ananenko. Where's Parlov? Baranov.
But in reality, it didn't happen that way. The men didn't volunteer. Alexei Ananenko, a 26-year-old maintenance engineer, says his boss ordered him to go as he knew the plant inside out. He technically could have refused. According to the Soviet news agency TASS, Ananenko replied, "But how could I do that when I was the only person on the shift who knew where the valves were located?" Joining Ananenko would be senior engineer Valery Bespalov and shift supervisor Boris Baranov. They entered the basement dressed in wetsuits, treading through radioactive water up to their knees. Firefighters had pumped out some of the water so they didn't have to swim. They moved quickly to try to limit their exposure to radiation as much as possible. Armed with just a flashlight and their courage, they managed to locate the 2 valves. Ananenko told journalists, "When the searchlight beam fell on a pipe, we were joyous. The pipe led to the valves. We heard the rush of water out of the tank." At the time, none of them knew what the long-term health consequences would be. Afterward, they repeatedly showered. In the weeks that followed, they all showed signs of radiation sickness. Rumors soon spread that the 3 men had all died and were buried in lead coffins. That too is a myth. All 3 survived the mission without suffering any serious long-term health problems. They continued to work in the nuclear sector after Chernobyl. Baranov died nearly 20 years later in 2005 from heart disease. He was 64. Bespalov and Ananenko are still alive today. The men who entered that basement were unquestionably brave. They stepped into an unknown, dangerous situation with limited information, but the catastrophe they prevented was not a nuclear apocalypse. Nonetheless, it was still immense. Chernobyl released 400 times more radioactive material into the environment than the bomb dropped on Hiroshima, though in a very different way over a much longer period of time. One of the most dangerous remnants was a mass of solidified radioactive material beneath the reactor known as the elephant's foot because of its shape. It was so deadly that in the months after the disaster, anyone exposed to it for even 5 minutes would have been killed. Radiation levels have fallen far lower over the decades, but it still remains dangerous. Large areas around the plant are still uninhabitable today, forming what's known as the Chernobyl Exclusion Zone. In 2016, a massive steel confinement structure was completed to seal what remains of Reactor 4. Chernobyl did not nearly end the world, but it permanently changed how we understand nuclear risk and the responsibility we carry when we reshape the environment around us. We all have a role to play in protecting nature before it's too late. That's why I'm proud to be a member of Planet Wild, a community-driven nature protection organization. Every month, we as a community fund a mission to restore forests, clean up oceans, or bring back endangered species. And think of it like crowdfunding for nature. What I love most is the transparency. Every month, they share video reports on YouTube and written updates on their app showing us exactly what our contributions have achieved. For example, Planet Wild helped restore America's prairies in Montana, once home to vast herds of bison, elk, by turning former cattle ranches back into protected natural land. They've also restored a butterfly forest in Mexico, planting trees so millions of monarch butterflies can continue their incredible migration to their winter home. More than 20,000 people have already joined as members. You can give any amount that feels right, big or small. Every dollar counts. The first 100 people to sign up using my code Newsthink1 will have their first month covered by me. Just scan the QR code or click the link in the description. If you want to see them in action, I've linked their America Prairie mission in the description and their Butterfly Forest mission right here. Thanks for watching. For Newsthink, I'm Cindy Pom.